Mr. Tick the Teacher. Mr. Tick the Teacher lived in a big house with his wife and children. His wife's name was Mrs. Tick, and the children's names were Tim, Tom and Teddy, Tilly, Trixie and Tess. Mr. Tick worked in a little school. It was so little that it only had one teacher, and that was Mr. Tick. And it only had 6 children. Can you guess who they were? Every morning at 8:30, Mr. Tick kissed Mrs. Tick and went off to school. Every morning at 10 to 9, the children waved goodbye to Mrs. Tick and went off to school too. At 9 o'clock, the children lined up in the playground and went into the classroom. Then Mr. Tick called the register. Tim, here Daddy. Tom, here Daddy. Teddy, here Daddy. Tilly, not here Daddy, said Tom. She forgot her dinner money. She went back to get it. Trixie, here Daddy. Tess, here Daddy. After that, the children had their lessons with Mr. Tick. In the morning, they had reading, writing and arithmetic, and in the afternoon they had singing, cooking and games. Please, Daddy, she's pinched my pencil. At 3:30, the children said good afternoon to Mr. Tick and went home. Mrs. Tick was waiting for them by the garden gate. Hello, Mummy, the children said. Hello, Tim. Hello, Tom. Hello, Trixie. Hello, Tilly. Hello, Tess, said Mrs. Tick. Then she said, Where's Teddy? He was cheeky to the teacher, said Tilly. Daddy kept him in. So the days went by at the little school, and they were happy days. The children liked the teacher, and the teacher liked the children, and the parents were pleased with the school, and the school was pleased with the parents. Then, one morning, Mrs. Tick was reading the newspaper. Oh dear, she said, listen to this. Little schools must close. An inspector will visit all little schools. If a school does not have enough children, it will be closed down. The children will go to a bigger school. That's bad news, said Mr. Tick. You children will lose a school, and I'll lose a job. What we need is more children, said Mrs. Tick. Yes, said Mr. Tick, but where from? All of a sudden, Tilly said, I have an idea, and she whispered it to Teddy. That's a good idea, said Teddy. He whispered it to Mr. Tick. That is a good idea, said Mr. Tick. He began to laugh. We will do it. The next day, the children had some surprising lessons in Mr. Tick's class. They had dressing up lessons, and making faces lessons, and riding their bikes in school lessons, and eating lots of dinner lessons. Mr. Tick took some old desks from the school shed, and Mrs. Tick put up more pegs in the school cloakroom. Can you guess what was going on? 2 days later, the inspector arrived. Mr. Tick met him at the school gate. The children are working in groups this morning, he said. Come and see. Mr. Tick took the inspector around the school. In the classroom, he said, Here we have the reading group. In the playground, he said, Here we have the games group. In the hall, he said, And here we have the singing group. On the school field, he said, Over there we have the cross-country running group. Can you guess who all the children were? Well, the inspector could not. He said, This is all very good, and he put it down in his notebook. At playtime, the inspector had a cup of tea with the secretary. Can you guess who she was? After play, he saw some more groups. At dinner time, Mr. Tick took the inspector into the hall again. Here the children are having their dinners, he said. It's self-service. And then the inspector had a cup of coffee with the cook. Can you guess who she was? And he said, "Well, Mr. Tick, there is no need to close this school. You have plenty of children." And he shook hands with Mr. Tick and said goodbye. After that, Mr. Tick gave the cook and the secretary a big kiss. He gave the reading group, the games group, the singing group and the cross-country running group a big hug. And he gave a half-day's holiday to the 6 cleverest and most hard-working children in the whole school. And you can guess who they were. The end. So now you've listened to the story, see if you can answer some of these questions. How many children went to Mr. Tick's school? Who were they? Can you write or draw the activities that the inspector saw at the school? What do you think of Mr. Tick's school?